harsh threats, the transfer of massive amounts of military equipment to the Middle East, changes in the configuration of military bases around Iran, and heavy propaganda against Iran all indicate that Trump has made his decision to attack Iran and is merely waiting for his forces' logistics to be fully in place before issuing the ordered strike.
We have a big flotilla going in that direction, and we'll see what happens.
The successful experience in Venezuela has been so appealing to Trump that it has convinced him he can inflict very heavy blows on Iran without paying any serious cost and emerge victorious. In his view, after severe economic pressure, repeated blows to its regional allies, the elimination of some commanders and military infrastructure during the 12-day war, and the recent clashes inside Iran, the country is in its weakest position, and he now has the opportunity to finish Iran off once and for all. But why could this be the biggest gamble Trump has taken in his entire life?
It appears that Trump is facing two main options for an attack on Iran: a limited strike focused on assassinating Iran's supreme leader, or a large-scale attack aimed at eliminating officials and military infrastructure, including even missile cities. However, it seems that recent successes have caused Trump to overlook several important realities about Iran.
The first point concerns Iran's leader. Unlike almost all political leaders in the world, Iran's leader is simultaneously a religious authority, with the largest number of followers among Shiites worldwide. There are very large Shiite populations in Iran, Pakistan, Iraq, Bahrain, and Lebanon, as well as many migrants living across Europe and the United States. As a result, an attempt to assassinate him could mobilize numerous popular cells against U.S. forces across the globe, making their protection, given such wide dispersion, extremely difficult. The motivation for revenge among these groups could last for years. Moreover, reports indicate that other Shiite religious authorities are also prepared to issue fatwas calling for confrontation with Americans in the event of an attack on Ayatollah Khamenei. This could endanger American interests and lives throughout the region and worldwide.
Another key point concerns the major differences between Iran's military conditions and those of Venezuela.
Due to its close proximity to the United States and its limited military capabilities, Venezuela had virtually no chance of defending itself in a non-ground war. But for attacks against Iran, the U.S. must rely on its ally, Israel, and the limited capabilities of bases near Iran. The issue is that, given Iran's large stockpiles and substantial missile capabilities, along with the long range of its missiles, the U.S. would effectively be forced to evacuate bases within a radius of 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers. This would severely limit its operational capacity in the event of an Iranian response. On the other hand, the experience of the 12-day war between Iran and Israel showed that Israel's capabilities and Netanyahu's claims cannot be relied upon sufficiently to defeat Iran. Trump had placed special confidence in Israel's capabilities and, in the early days of the war, spoke of the need for Iran's unconditional surrender. Yet in the end, he was forced to propose a ceasefire accepted by both sides without imposing any conditions on Iran. Another issue is that Trump's fundamental objective with this attack is to ensure the removal of the Islamic Republic.
Beyond military action, in order to achieve his objective, Trump also needs the opposition to the Islamic Republic to be able to attract the public and push aside the defenders of the Islamic Republic. But this is precisely where the major problem for the United States lies.
One of the reasons the Islamic Republic has remained in power despite severe economic problems caused by heavy sanctions and the weakness of some managers is that there is no leader or powerful group capable of uniting the diverse opposition factions and gaining the trust of the Iranian public.
The second problem for the U.S. is that the Islamic Republic is an ideological system, and its supporters view defending it not merely as a political choice, but as a religious duty.
Given their Shiite beliefs, they consider being killed in the path of religion as martyrdom and regard it as the highest human value. This has resulted in millions of defenders of the Islamic Republic, who still constitute a significant portion of society, being fully willing to take up arms and even die for it. This makes the task extremely difficult and exhausting for the U.S. and the opposition. It is an experience the U.S. has previously had against much smaller ideological groups in Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen, where it was either drawn into long, costly wars of attrition, such as what happened in Iraq, without ultimately achieving its desired outcome, or was forced to end the war quickly without reaching its objectives, as occurred last year in the 51-day war against Yemen, when the U.S. was compelled to declare a ceasefire without any significant achievements.
An even more important challenge relates to other countries and America's competition with its main rivals, China and Russia.
At a time when the U.S. has reached the peak of its competition with China, and Russia is at a turning point where, if it can exit the Ukraine war with major concessions, it would gain increased power, America's entry into a large-scale war with Iran could be exactly what China and Russia need. In such a scenario, they could arm and support Iran, draw the U.S. into a costly war of attrition, divert America's focus away from competition with them, and create a golden opportunity to move toward control over Taiwan and larger parts of Ukraine.
Another pillar of Trump's calculations has been shaped by Iran's previous reactions to strikes carried out by the United States and its allies against Iranian interests.
The assassination of General Soleimani, the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, the assassination of Syed Hassan Nasrallah, attacks on Hezbollah, the assassination of Iranian commanders by Israel, and U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. These actions were met with controlled and relatively limited responses from Iran, convincing Trump and his team that Iran is a paper tiger.
The key point, however, is that all of Iran's previous controlled responses that in fact faced heavy criticism inside Iran, were justified by the need to avoid entering a full-scale war for survival, given factors such as economic conditions and other constraints. But now that it is clear what the next war would be about, namely the survival of the Islamic Republic, it is only logical that Iran's responses will be very different this time and will not resemble those of previous periods.
And everything Iran has accumulated over decades could be brought into the battlefield. For all-out defense, Iran's strategy would be to maximize costs for various parties and use all its capabilities, such as the extensive use of its missile stockpiles, closing the Strait of Hormuz, and attacking U.S. bases in countries like the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Bahrain, and Kuwait. This could become a full-scale catastrophe for these countries, whose economies are built on secure trade in oil and gas resources. Moreover, in light of developments after October 7th and the revival of the dream of a greater Israel, the fall of the Islamic Republic is no longer desirable for these countries. They know that with the collapse of a barrier like Iran, Israel would become the regional hegemon and would sooner or later move to strike them as well. This means that even America's wealthy allies are not satisfied with a war scenario against Iran.
And the final issue, which may be the most important one for Trump, is that all of these risks are being taken over a matter in a dossier that has no real priority for the U.S. economy or America's domestic interests.
Entering such a conflict in pursuit of personal prestige, if it does not end in victory, could result in a domestic disaster for him, providing his internal opponents with the best opportunity to humiliate him. With all this, we must wait and see what the outcome of Trump's biggest gamble will be. A great victory or a great defeat.